Are you ready for your very own mighty monthly Muse? Here we go! We are coming to you from Highland Park, New Jersey. Featuring me, Chris Chandler, and Paul Benoit. We are flying into the Alberti Circus. There's our projection booth. We are listening to Pete Weiss and the Weistronauts. If you can afford to support me or this broadcast, you can do so at paypal.com/paypalme/baldchandler. Or if you can be a continuing contributor, you can do so at patreon.com/The Chris Chandler Show. We are sailing the seven seas. Here we go.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us here in Highland Park, New Jersey. It is so great to be back in Highland Park, New Jersey. Last month, you may remember we did it from Holden Beach, North Carolina, which is why it's been a crazy year. I had to do a family trip and done several of them this month. It's just been one thing after another and had to go visit people and help people. So I wanted to start this off with a road trip and feeling like the pandemic starting to wind down and actually getting out on the road. Because many of you know that I am a lifelong road rat. Let me get rid of the ghost lamp here. The show is on. What am I doing with the ghost lamp up there? I have been a lifelong road rat and with little over, a year and a half all from driving literally hundreds of miles every day. Yes, I had to take a family road trip. We went from New Jersey to the coast of North Carolina, which is where I saw you last. Then we went to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, then to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and back to New Jersey. Holy cow, let me tell you, I am out of shape. I got road foot. I forgot the better route and regretfully listened to my GPS, even though I know the better routes. My ankle actually started hurting from pressing the accelerator down. Yes, I got driving foot. I couldn't remember which side of the car the gas tank was on. I panicked at the easy pass stall. I almost ran out of gas, but still, it is the thrill of being on the open road. It's the poem that I want to open this with. So would you please welcome from Highland Park, New Jersey, Chris Chandler.
You're going to have to bear with me while I do a little set change here.
One, two.
There we go. The roadmap that is America unfolding ahead of me from God's own glove compartment, and then being used as a napkin to wipe our chicken fingers, purchased from the devil's own drive-thru, discarded out the window of want, and somersaulting past silos and skyscrapers that materialize upon the horizon and then disappear through the black hole that is my rear view. Dogs and horses parading the pasture, where dogwoods and horse mint bloom, urban blight and rural decay, solid white cotton fields like freshly fallen snow, softening the Carolina landscape, picked by illegal immigrants and shipped to chemical plants in Brazil, transformed into the latest polyfiber, 15% cotton, and shipped to Bangladesh and sewn into tablecloths and shipped back to South Carolina to be stocked upon the shelves of a Walmart by the very same people that once worked the textile mills that lie abandoned along the thin highways of fat America. purple mountains tragedy, and amber waves of inequity, mud flap angels, and divisive bumper stickers. Redefine patriotism on the rear bumper of a 1974 Ford Galaxy, maskless driver, and a West Virginia license plate, billboards blaring God, guns, and gentlemen's clubs fail to see their own irony. Jesus Christ, embossed in stark black and white, post-social realism style, with bright red realistic blood dripping from an etched crown of thorns. This blood's for you, it reads. A baseball glove, apple pie, and an AR-15. Pure American, it reads. High-heeled Hellcat and fishnet. Hot Legs is the name of the place. Always hiring. Beer specials, noon to 4 a.m. Amateurs and couples welcome, it reads. Headlights on. Gas prices as low as the traffic and my expectations. 18-wheelers lined up at ports of call, ferrying prime next-day deliveries beneath telephones and power lines. Rain refineries and rainbow. The freshly paved asphalt glistens prismatic in the Appalachian drizzle. Windshield wipers slap in time. I was holding Kimberly's hand in mine as we sang every song we both knew. Thank you, that's a new one. Let's do a little set change.
Thank you so much. That is a new one. Good to be here in Highland Park, New Jersey. Thanks for watching my little show. I know that October, I think, is when I'm actually going to go out and start touring again. You know, I'm working on a new record with Paul Benoit, and I'm also working on a different record with Sean Shanahan. But I know Paul and I are going to go out first, and we are going to start it off at the Kerrville Folk Festival. We're going to be playing on the first weekend, and we're going to tour from Kerrville up the East Coast and back to New Jersey, and then we'll send Paul on his way to Seattle. But it will be good to be on the open road once again. My car just barely wants to drive. Oh, there we go. All right, speaking of Paul, I'm going to do a piece from our most recent record. It's called A Pocket Call from My Dreams, and this is the opening track. So would you please welcome from Seattle, Washington, Paul Benoit.
One, two, three.
I got a pocket call from my dreams. I hadn't heard from them in a while, and clearly they didn't mean to call. I said, hello, but all I could hear was these muffled voices on the other end of the line, clearly talking to someone else. It was hard to make out what they were saying, but my dreams have always been hard to interpret.
We light the fire on which we burn. We are the prisoners with the key, and all the secrets that we learn, they roll like waves upon the sea.
I stepped into a quiet place where I could listen. I mean, how often do you get to eavesdrop on your own dreams? They seem to be in a bar, talking with the dreams of others. Who were these dreams my dreams were hanging out with? It seemed to be one of those seedy bars, packed with the questionable company of unfulfilled dreams, delusions, illusions of grandeur, and this one arrogant bastard, intoxicated on the smell of his own musket, brandishing a handgun and calling himself the American dream.
Painted puppets, jointed limbs, we're all hanging on a string. Gallows humor always wins. You realize eventually
My dreams were making fun of me. saying, arguing with my subconscious, saying sure he likes to lie in the open fields and soft grass, building castles in the clouds, but when he's done, he still feels like a serf staring up at his tower of dreams that he'll never see the inside of. He doesn't take it seriously, I tell you. Always banding about those platitudes that he learned at some hippie festival. Maybe if we all had the same dream, our dreams would become a reality. Just because we're dreamed doesn't mean we aren't real. I mean, Martin Luther King had a dream on a mountain. Was he really on a mountain? Did he really have a dream?
And all the stories that they sell, rag pickers, bottom feeders, are the ones I'm wishing well.
And one of my dreams offered to buy this one hot little wet dream a drink, but when he reached for his wallet was gone. Someone had pickpocketed my dreams. Must have been a very bad dream. But that sweet little wet dream didn't miss a beat. She said, don't worry, baby. If giving is better than receiving, then wanting must be better than having. Turns out, she was just another pipe dream. And with that, she mounted the mighty mare of misconception and rode off. Because, my friends, one man's high horse is another man's nightmare.
The cure, we're all talking to our beats. One thing I know for sure, you can't depend on anything.
And on one end of the bar, there was this one dream, wretched, miserable, and lonely. Another lost dream in a tavern full of other lost dreams. Naturally, my dream sat down beside it, because I don't know about you, but my dreams have always gravitated towards lost causes. Turns out he had once been a great dreamer, a champion, in fact, a dreamer. But then he realized the thing that sucks about having great ideas is that mountains of hard work will surely follow. And what self-respecting dreams of mountains of hard work? Perhaps that's why he was suffering from pre-traumatic stress disorder.
Upon my dreams and all the things of which I dwell became the shape of my world and the crust of my mind shell.
My dreams descended down the bar, a long smoky cavern full of glittery lights, busty barkeeps, and really tired music. Yes, my dreams were in a casino. What, your dreams gamble? Is nothing sacred? I said, yes, but if nothing is sacred, what does that make everything? And my dreams were sitting there in front of slot machines, cigarettes hanging out their mouths, pissing away what little they had for an unfulfilled dream. Which is why, when I pulled the one-armed bandit of misconceptions, I heard this over the phone. I heard the sound of gold coins landing, cascading into the tiny purses of little old ladies. I took some of the winnings and I purchased a GPS for my lost dream, but it just kept saying over and over again, recalculating, recalculating, recalculating. Still, there were bells, confetti rained from the sky, there was a balloon drop, trumpets heralded the fortunes of others. There were bells, there were buzzers, there were buzzers, there were buzzers. Why, that's no slot machine, that's an alarm clock. The dream is over. Unless, well, what would you do? I took that alarm clock and I threw it across the room and it smashed into a million pieces. Or maybe I just mashed the snooze button, because I sometimes mistake my imagination for my memory. And I pulled the covers up over my head, but as soon as I did, there were my dreams dancing, hands reaching to an iridescent sky. Their faces were painted blue and they were naked. And believe me, seeing my naked dreams is not a pretty sight. Yes, it was nightmare. It was worse than a nightmare. My dreams were on a vision quest, and they were singing in 12-part harmony. In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. And I'm thinking, if you people don't stop watching that Weemowa crap, you're gonna wake the lion up. No, this is no vision quest. My alarm clock had just been set to radio, and one thing's for sure, I have to stop listening to NPR.
Fields again. I can smell the charcoal leaves carried in the western wind and drifting into everything.
I knew if I mashed that snooze button one more time, I would be crossing the thin line between genius and insanity, and I wasn't sure in which direction I was headed. So I did as I suggest you do at home. When in doubt, mash the snooze button. After all, we dreamers are only happy when we're asleep. But as soon as I did, I found my dreams in prison. And a crowd had gathered chanting, "Free the dreams! Free the dreams!" They implored me to act. And I said, yes, great minds think alike. But they chided back, no, actually, average minds think alike. And I said, if I knew all the answers, I'd have a whole lot of questions. And with that, the ground began to rumble as if it were a mighty earthquake, tearing down the prison walls of my dreams. Or no, maybe my cell phone was just set to vibrate, because I picked it up to answer it, and it was a pocket call. I had received a pocket call from my dreams. Or maybe it was a wake-up call.
Right. Thank you. That was a lot of fun to do. I felt like I was having some audio problems there. Sorry about that. I'm going to try to get that figured out. And while I'm trying to figure that out, I want to say that I went on that road trip to North Carolina and to Pittsburgh, and you might think that I was going to Pittsburgh for Ann Feeney, but no, actually, I got back to New Jersey and got on a plane and flew out to St. Louis, and we buried Ann Feeney in Mount Olive Cemetery at the Union Miners Cemetery next to Mother Jones. And I wish I had printed out some pictures to show you. Her cemetery and bench is facing the Mother Jones Monument there in Mount Olive. And it could not be any closer. She is buried right next to Mother Jones with a tombstone that reads "Solidarity Forever" and a bench. And they planted a tree next to the bench. And it's going to be a very shady spot to sit there in the cemetery. And I thought that I would take this moment to read to you my eulogy for my best friend as she is laid to rest amongst her heroes and heroines. My first favorite poet, E.E. Cummings, wrote, "Unbeing dead isn't being alive. And Feeney, your life well lived is not being dead. Far from it. For as Henry Ward Beecher said, death is the dropping of the flower that the fruit may swell. The Buddha said, death is not to be feared by one who has lived wisely." And I had to read these words at her grave standing next to a Catholic priest, because Anne was raised Catholic. And your life has touched so many that I believe the great poet Horace was referring to you when he wrote a few years before Christ was born, "A great part of me will escape the grave." Sojourner Truth said, "I am not going to die. I am going home like a shooting star." The Lord gave me Sojourner because I was to travel up and down the land, showing people their their sins and being a sign unto them. Afterwards, I told the Lord I wanted another name. Everybody else has two names. And the Lord gave me truth because I was to declare the truth to people. And that is not dissimilar to how you have lived your life. A shooting star, speaking truth along the thin highway of fat America. Whatever Lord meant to you, he, she, they spoke to you directly to you. Joe Hill said of his own death, don't mourn, organize. But as we stand here in the presence of Mother Jones, we remember that she said, mourn the dead and fight like hell for the living. That is what we are here to do. Matthew quotes Christ, blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. I am not a humanitarian. I am a hellraiser, Mother Jones. Eugene Debs said, while there is a lower class, I am in it. While there is a criminal element, I am of it. And while there is a soul in prison, I am not free. And there are souls in prison. And none of us are free, alive or dead. We still have work to do, alive or dead. Comfort the afflicted. And I am comforted by the presence of so many of you that you have inspired. And our inspiration of you keeps you alive forever. For as Confucius said, we should keep the dead before our eyes and honor them as though they are still living. The Quran illustrates this. A bier passed by Muhammad, and he stood up, and it was said to him, this is the bier of a Jew. And he responded, when the bier of anyone passes by thee, whether Jew, Christian, or Muslim, rise thy feet. Krishna says that wise beings should not grieve for the dead. What's really important is the consciousness that you have come in contact with, and the consciousness that you carry with you at all times has touched so many spirits that your fighting spirit will indeed continue to change the world, afflict the comfortable, and comfort the afflicted. Emma Goldman said, only when we cannot dream we will die. She also said, if I can't dance, it's not my revolution. And I know that was one of your primary creeds. If I can't dance, give me bread, but give me roses too. And that is what you said to me when we met over half my lifetime ago. We both had an affinity for well-written, funny material. I did not know it at the time. But it was Joe Hill that said, a pamphlet, no matter how good, is not read more than once, but a song that is learned by heart and repeated over and over. And I maintain that if a person can put a few common sense facts into a song and dress them up in a cloak of humor, he will be succeeded in reaching a great number of workers. And you always found a way. The collection of chants you carried and collected, often original, always appropriate, lifting voices together, sometimes earnest, using the hook of familiarity. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated, but sometimes in jest. The pizza uneaten will never be reheated. The pizza uneaten will never be reheated. Always with a common purpose, for the good of the working class. Fear a revolution that sings. All the world is made of music. We are the strings of a lyre. We resonate when we sing together, Joe Hill said. And I say, but only with the help of others, principally Phil Rockstrell, who helped me with this passage. Open a window, eavesdrop on God. Turn off your radio and hear it. Everything is made of molecules that are vibrating, forever undulating, like Ma Rainey, like Jacques Brel, like Louis Armstrong and Ann Feeney, vibrating like the strings of a guitar, or as Joe Hill sang, like the strings of a lyre, like the head of a drum, like a grand piano in a washing machine. And my friends, we are all on the same cycle. Agitate, 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 vibrating with the frequency of all of our collective voices, united, transforming them into the trumpet of Gabriel, heralding the inspiration of Ann Feeney and reverberating it down to us from upon the heavens. And we sing back, harmonizing with our own echo. The vibrations meet in the middle and creating a new and better chord where perfect pitch will be attained by the imperfect musicians within this world of infinite uncertainty in order to create a world where all is song, all is song, all is song. And he presente. And here to join us with a celebration of Ann Feeney, to a celebration of the deepest taproot that goes to the folk music that I love, from Portland, Oregon, would you please welcome David Rovick.
Please welcome David Rovick.
Dreamed I saw Joe Hill last night, alive as you and me. Says I, but Joe, you're 10 years dead. I never died, says he. I never died, says he.
I did not dream I saw Joe Hill last night. I simply saw Joe Hill last night. The work of Cesar Chavez and Harriet Tubman, Mother Jones, of Eugene Debs is not dead. It will never die, says me, for it will never die in me.
The copper bosses killed you, Joe. They shot you, Joe, says I. Takes more than guns to kill a man, says Joe. I didn't die, says Joe. I didn't die.
The billy clubs of Ferguson, the tear gas in the streets of Portland, Seattle, D.C. killed you, Joe. They ran you out of town, says some. It takes more than that to shut us down, which is why we'll stay right here. No justice, no peace, which is why we will not die.
And standing there as big as life and smiling with his eyes, says Joe, what they can never kill went on to organize, went on to organize.
And organize he did. And standing there as big as life is the work of United Students Against Sweatshops, the School of the Americas Watch, Defense Against the Dakota Pipeline, Black Lives Matter, who struggle to organize a world in which all people live in freedom from oppression, valued as whole human beings, rather than exploited in a quest for productivity under the rule of the wrong kinds of profits. They went on to organizing as they fight police brutality, as they fight the prison industrial complex, organizing as they force queer and transgendered issues onto the agenda. Joe Hill is alive, and those who went on to organize the unorganized.
an eagle up to me. In every mine and mill where working folks defend their rights, it's there you'll find Joe Hill. It's there you'll find Joe Hill.
From Portland to Seattle, from Johannesburg to Immokalee, from Ferguson to Kenosha, from Oakland to D.C., from Prague to Sidi Boise. This is where you will find Joe Hill, because this is where you will find you and find me.
I dreamed I saw Joe Hill last
I
night.
did not dream I saw Joe Hill last night. I am Joe Hill tonight.
But Joe, you're 10 years.
I'm Joe Hill today.
Never died, says
I will be Joe Hill
I
tomorrow.
never died. Says
I am Michael Brown. I am Breonna Taylor. I am George Floyd. I am Victor Hara. I am Rachel Corey. I am Joe Hill. I am Joe Hill today, and I will never die.
died, says he. I never died, says he. I never died, says he.
I'm getting updates on my phone from this very show. David Rovick, wow, thank you so much. I worked with David before Ann. Actually known David longer than I knew Ann. And we've worked together regularly for well over 30 years. And I really appreciate that. Since working with Ann, I've been trying to do some different kinds of shows. And but Ann always loved them, and in particular, she liked this number from Paul Benoit. So I'm going to ask Paul to do another one with me. I'm going to have to do a little set change with it, and this is one that Ann particularly liked, and it's also from our pocket call from our dream video. Please welcome back Paul Benoit.
Okay, this will be from the Pocket Call from My Dreams album with Paul Benoit. Let me do a little set change. A story in the news recently caught my imagination. And my imagination does not like to be caught. My imagination is like a wild animal, and when caught in a trap, it will gnaw its own leg off to get released, which is exactly what it did. Fortunately, my imagination also believes itself to be a millipede, and it could spare the leg. So I put on a fresh t-shirt and headed out the door, forgetting that somewhere beneath the rubble of a collapsed 10-story garment building in Bangladesh lies part of my imagination. And there it shall remain, along with the remains of the poorly educated women working for shockingly low wages who died there.
Money, get away. Get a good job with more pay, you're okay. Money, it's a gas. Grab that cash with both hands and make a stash. New car caviar, star daydream. Think I'm gonna buy me a football team.
It seems that the hole left by my missing leg began to grow until it became a giant black hole, sucking the white clouds of my imagination into a time warp and not stopping until a full century had passed. And I found myself no longer in the sweatshops of Bangladesh, but in the sweatshops of New York City. The year was 1911, and another 10-story garment factory was on fire, the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory. And the victims of this tragedy again were mostly poorly educated women working for shockingly low wages.
Money, get back. I'm alright, Jack. Keep your hands off of my sack.
And just like in Bangladesh, the management had locked all of the workers inside before the fire to prevent them from stealing. And in both places, fire escapes collapsed from the weight of fleeing workers. And in both cases, local inspectors had warned that the building was unsafe. And in both cases, workers were told they would be fired if they did not continue working. In New York, these events horrified the nation. Horror is the only catalyst for change, because, my friends, content people do not take to the streets.
Hey, it's a hit. But don't give me that do-goody-good bullshit. I'm in the high fidelity first-class traveling set. Think I need a leader, yeah.
Less than a year after the events in New York, all the women working in those garment factories in the Northeast had been organized by the industrial workers of the world, and that was before they could even vote. These events helped fuel a movement of organized workers that brought us workplace safety standards, the abolishment of child labor, minimum wage, the 8-hour day, things for which this country should be proud. However, the real engine of this country, the corporations, run from these American values like traitors. In Bangladesh, the accident killed 10 times the number of workers in New York, whose wages were 20 times worse, the volume of clothing produced 100 times greater, and the profits 1,000 times more obscene. One would think that the international outrage would be proportionate.
Money, it's a crime. Share it fairly, don't take a slice of my pie. Money, so they say, is the root of all evil today. But if you ask for a rise, it's no surprise they're giving none away.
A terrorist bomb that killed 1,200 people in the name of a profit, it would scare the pants off of us. But when it is corporate neglect and greed that kills 1,200 people in the name of a very different profit, we go to Walmart and buy another pair of pants.
Money, get away. Get a good job with more pay, you're okay. Money, it's a gas. Grab that cash with both hands and make a stash. New car caviar, star daydream. Think I'll buy me a football team.
In the 21st century, American corporations continue to have their wares manufactured in 19th century working conditions. And this too catches my imagination, and it is an active imagination. Because I envision a day when large American box stores and name brands take pride in American values and no longer sell merchandise made in such un-American conditions. Where Walmart's slogan, save more, live better, started living up to the live better part of that slogan. Where Gap did not mean income that gap. Where Dell Computer's slogan, get more out of now, was not aimed at a 13-year-old girl working on an assembly line. Where Nike's just do it and Target's expect more, pay less, did not sound like it was coming out of the mouth of a factory boss with a writing crop in his hand. It is time, my friends, that we Americans demand that the working conditions we insist on for ourselves be true of the things we buy. Because after all, you are what you buy.
Right. Thank you. Let me do a little set change here. Thanks for hanging around with me. I got a couple more for you. And I do want to apologize for the audio problems. It is certainly not Brian Dozer's fault. It's all my fault. I'm working on it. I'm working on trying to do something here, and I hope you're enjoying it without the rule number one: never apologize on stage. But I don't know. I'm feeling like I got some audio issues going on, but I hope you like that one. I wanted to do another one that Anne really liked with Paul Benoit. This is also from the Pocket Call from My Dreams album, and it's really good to work with a video projector again. Thank you guys so much for gathering around, and I hope you like this one.
The very thing that makes America great is the very thing that we are most afraid of. Our diversity.
I got your back, but who's got mine? I felt like a ray out on the line. We were twisted, we were blind. I want my eyes, I want to unwind. And if you gotta hate somebody, if you gotta hate someone, don't hate me, don't hate me.
From the beginning, America has been a hodgepodge of sundry and diverging groups. It's what makes us great. 200-300 years ago, and even last week, it was the best and the brightest that came here. It was the adventurers, the free thinkers, the risk takers that came here. The ne'er-do-wells, the debtors, looking to start over, the extremists, the fanatics, the radicals, the persecuted and the prospectors that long for the salvation of a new beginning. It was the draft dodgers, the exiled intellectuals, the starving, the industrious, the refugees. They came from all over the world and spoke many different languages. At one point, we nearly adopted German as our national language.
You're always kind.
1776, there were 2.5 million non-native speaking people living in what is now known as the United States. No nationality held a clear majority, and over 20% were of African descent, which is more than from any single country in Europe. At one point, it could be argued that the 18th century version of Swahili was the most spoken tongue in the Western Hemisphere. Now granted, they did not come here willingly. It is one of our greatest shames that it has taken us so long to realize the gifts they had to offer. For even though Africans were subjugated for most of their history in the Western Hemisphere, the gifts and contributions that they gave to what makes America great is immeasurable. And the same could be said of the contributions of those we have most mistreated, the Native Americans, the Chinese, and the Mexicans. Most of our greatest achievements have been in the behest of the newcomer, the outcast, the refugee. It was the newcomer, the immigrant, the refugee, that put his body on the line against an armed private militia in the struggle to give us the 8-hour day. It was the newcomer, the immigrant, the refugee, that swelled the ranks of the Union Army as we put an end to slavery at the barrel of a gun. It was the newcomer, the immigrant, the refugee, educated in our universities, as they sat in Houston, Texas, and Cape Canaveral, as we put a human being on the moon. It takes a great deal of courage and gumption to come to a new land to begin again. But once you get there, the one thing you still got is courage, gumption. Even today is what makes us great. Even if today is what we fear the most. Many fear the newcomer, but I say, what does the newcomer have to offer? We are all, after all, newcomers. This country is still so young and so big. Europeans poke fun at us because we think that 200 years is a long time, yet somehow they think that 200 miles is a long way. Our American trailblazers have conquered great distances.
But who's got
With a mule and an axle, and we, a largely
I was careless
impoverished, rural, uneducated,
and
loose collection of villages,
we were stumbling.
were able to defeat the mightiest army on earth
We were
with
stumbling.
nothing but a wagon load of hunting rifles and declare ourselves free. Only a great and inspired people can do that.
I need a call.
And yes, what we have done with that history
And if you gotta
has not always been pretty.
somebody,
No people's history is pretty. Perhaps if our history were pretty, it would surely be that. History. After all, pretty people don't last. And in America, it is often the ugliest of the ugly that prevail, but prevail too. But today, I choose to celebrate what is great about our country, our diversity.
don't hate me.
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed doing it for you. I really miss performing for you live. But this has been a fun experiment in trying to redefine yourself as a performer. And I'm learning. I've got a lot to learn. Thanks for sticking with me while I learned. I'll learn the ropes. I know there's been some technical problems, and each time I vow to make this a little bit better, and eventually we're going to get it down. And I would actually like to believe that I'm going to continue doing this after we can get on the road and start doing shows on a regular basis. I'm enjoying this format, and I long to make it better. So thank you very much for being here at the beginning. I can't see any of you or your comments because of the way I'm doing this, but I get the feeling there's not that many people here, but I really appreciate you being here and sticking with me and believing in me. And I couldn't do it without you. And together, we could not do the great work we are doing together without each other. And when we think about what it takes for us to be together, we have to come back to what is going to happen this weekend on Sunday. Yes, it's Mother's Day. And I had a fabulous relationship with my mother. And I would like to close this with a little road piece about my mother. When I heard that my mother was not doing well, I was making my first record with Paul and in Seattle. And I got a phone call from my siblings, and I drove from Seattle to Atlanta in one fell swoop, one long drive. And at the end of that experience, this poem came out of it. And this is what I want to close with. I hope you'll hang around for the after party. I'd love to chat with you individually there, and it'll take me about 2 minutes to get out of the Alberti Theater and open up my iPad in a different place so I can talk to you there. And this is a piece from the first record that Paul and I made called "So Where Are You Headed?" And this is called Wyoming.
Live on Sugar Mountain with the barkers and the colored balloons. You kept it 20 on Sugar Mountain, and you're thinking that you're leaving there too soon. You're leaving there too soon.
I was driving through Wyoming when my GPS stopped working. I'm thinking, what? No service? But then I remembered the first time that I'd driven through Wyoming. It was about 30 years ago, and I had just started booking shows and clubs. And I was going to book a show in New York City. But the thing is, I had to make a phone call. But the signs on the highway said no food, no services, no phones, and no minutes. It was not very long ago that large swaths of this country didn't even have phone service. But these days, you can't find a payphone, but it's for very different reasons.
It's so noisy at the fair, but all your friends are there. And the candy floss you hair, and your mother and your dad.
Oh, the good old days that never were. The ones we tattoo on our bodies, even our psyche, to remind us of a particular place and time. I remember when I was in elementary school, there was a kid in my class who had a tattoo. It was a skull with a jester's cap. I was scared of him. I wanted to be like him. And believe me, this was unusual. The skull with the jester's cap. The Grateful Dead was not a part of my childhood. The Jerry Garcia Transformer robot doll had not yet been marketed.
There's a girl down the aisle, and you turn to see her smile. And you hear the words she wrote as you read the hidden note.
Oh, how that image disturbed me. The skull with the jester's cap. But then I thought, what do you want your legacy to be? To go through this life making people laugh, and after you die, you're still doing it. The image grew in my mind. It became bejeweled and beribboned. To this day, whenever I see a tattoo, it always pales in comparison to the memory of the one that I had seen as a child. And I was in my hometown recently, and I ran into the kid with the tattoo. And I got a chance to tell him that I'd spent the past 30 years of my life traveling around the country trying to make people laugh, and I hope that after I die, I'll still be doing it. And I talked him into taking his shirt off and showing it to me, and I saw it in all its reality. It looked like a prison tattoo. Pale blue lines hanging off of aging flesh. He told me he'd done it himself with a sewing needle and a ballpoint pen and was considering having it removed. And I thought, laughter died.
Now you're underneath the stairs and you're giving out some glares.
Not from age, but from vanity.
To the people that you met, and it's your first cigarette.
And in this case, laser surgery.
Oh, live on Sugar Mountain with the Parkers and the colored balloons. You kept it 20 on Sugar Mountain, and you're thinking that you're leaving there too soon.
Now the reason that I was in my hometown
You're leaving there too soon.
was because I was visiting my mother, who was aging. My siblings called me and told me that it was time to visit, and I did. Only once I got there, I managed to catch this stomach virus. I got really sick, and I found myself in bed. It was my childhood bed. And I looked down the hallway, and I saw my mother struggling with her walker, carrying a tray of chicken noodle soup and saltines, oxygen tubes trailing behind her. She put her thermometer in my mouth. It was the same thermometer she'd put in my mouth as a child.
Now you say you're leaving home.
I had 105
'cause you want
degree
to be
temperature.
alone.
She wiped my forehead with a washcloth.
Ain't it funny how it feels when you're finding out it's real? Ain't it funny how it feels when you're finding out it's real?
And it's real. Oh, how the tables had turned.
Sugar
I had come home to help take care of her, but somehow she found strength in my illness.
You kept it 20 on
It's the only time I can remember being glad that I was sick.
and you're thinking that you're
And the
leaving
only
there
thing that I
too
could do
soon.
was to lie in bed and savor the taste, chicken noodle soup and saltines. Because I knew that it was going to be the last time that my mother would ever mother me.
Intense.
Thank you all so much for listening to me on my Mighty Monthly Muse. We do this the first Friday, but I am changing the date. I'm going to start doing it on Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern. My poem of the week is also always coincided with that. So next Sunday, I'm going to do the poem of the week, which is 2 days from now on May the 9th at 9 p.m. Eastern. To give a little more better access for people on the West Coast, and maybe I'll go over ambitious on doing this on a Friday night. But I am so thankful that y'all are here. I'm happy to be here at the Jim and Alberti Theater, and I really want to thank all of the people at the 9:30 at the 8:30 Club for helping to make this happen. Especially Tim Mason, whose belief in me over the past 30 years has been. I mean, I would not be sitting here without Tim Mason. He's been such a big help to me, and Karen Billard and all of the people at the 8:30 Club. And thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you'll join me on Sunday for the Poem of the Week, which is only on Facebook. And let's set sail.